At Carvana, we take pride in making sure that every vehicle meets our strict cosmetic standards. From top to bottom, our expert team can tackle most problems from right within the inspection center. Today, we're going to take a look at the basics of wheel repair. This video will show you how to prep a wheel, remove the damage, and apply fresh paint and clear coat. Let's get started. Today, we're going to repair a very common problem: curb damage. This happens when a driver pulls too close to the curb and the wheel ends up with a heavy scrape along the outer edge. Before we can begin removing the damage, we want to make sure to clear the affected area of any dirt, grease, or any other type of debris. Typically, this is done with paint thinner or alcohol, but there are a variety of other cleaners that can work as well. Now that the area has been cleared, we can start removing the damage. But before we can do that, we need to prep our tools. The main tool for removing damage from a wheel is a dual-action sander, often referred to as simply a DA. The face of the DA has a circular head that accepts Velcro sanding discs. For the first pass on this wheel, we're going to use a very rough, abrasive grit, something around 180. Going over the surface of the wheel with the DA, you can slowly see the damage beginning to fade. Basically, we are grinding away the roughed-up part of the wheel. When using a DA near the edge of the wheel, you want to be careful that you do not make contact with the tire, as you can very easily cause damage to it. Anytime you remove damage or do any other work that creates dust or debris, you need to remove that debris before you can proceed. So we will use the air blower to remove any dust we created, and then we'll go over the wheel again with the cleaner that we used earlier. The next step of the wheel repair process is simply refining or smoothing out that first pass we did. But this time we'll use a smoother grit for our sandpaper. Typically this would be something around 320 grit. The main difference between this pass and the last one is that we'll cover a slightly wider area so that we can feather out and blend the repair into the surrounding area. Like before, we'll blow away any debris we created and use the cleaner on the wheel before the next step. At this point, the damage has been removed and we're ready to paint. But first, we need to know what color to use. To determine which color you will need, we use this small collection of swatches. Each is a card displaying a different color of wheel paint. Holding it against the wheel, you can find the correct shade to apply. When you find it, take note of the code on the other side. This code refers you to a formula for mixing this color. We won't cover paint mixing in this video, so we'll just move on to the actual painting. The mixed paint is poured into a small container that is then attached to the top of the paint gun. The final step before spraying paint is masking. These cards are inserted between the wheel and the tire along the edge of the damage. They prevent any overspray from getting onto the tire itself. In some cases, the interior of the wheel will also need masking so that you can avoid painting internals that might be highly visible or custom painted. Now it's finally time to paint. Notice that the technician is not keeping the trigger of the paint gun constantly held down. With each pass he makes, he squeezes and then releases when he reaches the other end. This prevents buildup on the sides of the repair. You might also notice a small flick of the wrist at the end of each pass. This also prevents buildup and helps to feather or blend this new paint into the old paint. With the first pass complete, we need to make sure that the paint is dry before moving on. Here we're using an air blower with a built-in filter. This prevents spraying any dust or debris into the paint. Most of the time you'll only need one coat of paint, but it's perfectly okay to add a second if the wheel should need it. Now that the paint is complete, we need to make sure it's protected. So we're going to apply a clear coat. Just like with the paint, you'll pour your mixed clear coat into a small container and attach it to a separate paint gun. It's a good idea to keep these guns separated and mark them in a way that shows which is used for paint and which is used for clear coat. Spraying clear coat is similar to spraying paint, except that because it's clear, there's a different way to tell if you've sprayed enough. If you spray too little, the finish won't be glossy but dull or matte. But if you spray too much, your clear will begin to run, causing drips on the wheel, which is very difficult and time-consuming to fix. So, for clear coat, you want to slowly keep adding layers, pass by pass, until you begin to see that glossy finish that looks like the rest of the wheel. It takes some practice to get good at, but will come with time. Once the clear coat has been applied, you can either let it air dry, or like the paint before it, we can accelerate that process using the air blower. That covers the basic idea and approach of how to fix damage to wheels, and you can see that that damage is now almost invisible. That's it for this lesson. I hope you learned something, and thank you for watching.